Welcome back to the Best Day Ever podcast. Today we have a special guest, Andrew Carlson. Stick around to hear more about his stories, his passions, and the way God is on the move in his life. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Best Day Ever podcast. I am your host, Olivia Vendetti-Spahr, and in case you haven't heard already, today is the best day ever. You know why? Because where's yesterday? Yesterday is gone. She's out the door. And are we guaranteed we're going to wake up tomorrow? No, we're not. So today's literally the best day ever. And you guys, today I have a special guest. And this is not just, every episode is so special. But you guys have no idea what we have gone through. Would you like to give yourself a little hello?
Yo, what's up, guys? My name's Andy, and this is the Best Day Ever podcast, and we're just gonna kick it off. Let's go.
All right, Andy, do you want to share the story of how we tried to record last time, or should I?
You can do the honors.
Okay. Yeah, so, guys, the reason why I just had to give that little intro is because Andy and I met 2 months ago. Well, no, we've known each other since high school. Yeah. But, we had met to record an episode 2 months ago. And I'm not even kidding. It was about 2 hours long. And when I press the end button to save it, you guys, it all deleted.
It said not enough storage.
Yeah, literally the whole 2 hours of our podcast was out the door. And so it has been just weeks upon weeks of just messaging each other, trying to figure out a new date. And then I had left for a 2-week trip. And fortunately, it just worked. Now here we are.
Finally,
we're back and we're rolling for round two. Obviously, this is round one to everybody else.
That's true.
And I was sharing with Andy beforehand, because I always come into a podcast episode with a list of bullet points and questions that I want to make sure we talk about. Because there's just really cool defining things in people's stories that I don't want to get missed. However, after recording for one time, having it be nearly almost 2 hours, I didn't want to be stuck in the mindset of I need to make sure it's exactly like last time. I need to make sure we say everything that we said before. I need to make sure we basically just touch on every single story that was shared. And I didn't want to be in that mindset and have that stress over me or Andy to make sure we're saying all the right things. So I told Andy, I was all right, let's totally just
go with the
free
flow.
Conversation, and go with the flow. And so I'm sure we're going to be talking about all those same things, but there's just really not going to be as much structure, and we're just going to have a conveation.
We're going to let the Holy Spirit guide us.
Yeah, Holy Spirit guide us. But before we get into it, I just want to really thank you, Andy, for coming out here onto the podcast. It's literally so fun having a new guest on it, and I hope you guys are just inspired and you enjoy everything that he has to share about his life and faith and music, but we're going to get into everything. So
thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. This is so much fun, you guys. And all right, we're just going to get right into it.
There we go.
So first things first.
How we met, right?
Yes, exactly. Andy already knows.
I want to know better on this podcast.
Okay, I start off every podcast sharing the story of how we met, because it literally is a miracle that two people meet at a certain place and time. So yeah, I start off every podcast with just sharing how did we meet? And
so we met at church. I think the service was ending, and it was an outdoor service because it was COVID and summer out. And I was just gonna be heading home, walking home, and then I looked to my left and I noticed someone from high school that I'd never really talked to, and I was oh, hey, what's up? I think your last name, but I don't really know who you are. And I always have this question, like, is your last name 2 words or like 1 word combined?
It's I have 2 last names.
Okay.
So it's Vendetti from my mom, which is Italian, and then Spahr, which is German from my dad. So my last name is Vendetti-Spahr.
I was always wondering that. And then so I was like, hey, what's up? I didn't really talk to you that much in high school, but I recognized, like, I think you did the announcements or something and all that. So I was like, hey, what's up? And I think I showed you one of my, like, beats or something I was working on. And yeah, we just started talking about, like, life after high school and
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that was.
So what was your perspective?
Yeah, that was like pretty much the same perspective that I had. So I just remember going to the service. That was like my first of my time at that church. And what's it called again?
Christ Community Church.
Yeah, Christ Community Church. That was my first time there. And I remember like seeing you, and I'm someone that I am very good at like remembering like faces, and I just like I love saying hi to people and just like seeing how people are doing, and so I just remember being like, hey, what's up? And then everything you said, we started talking, and it was so cool because like thinking now about like the place that we like ran into each other was at church.
Yeah,
and
funny.
in high school, like I didn't know Jesus at all. Like I literally didn't know him at all. And I think that was maybe like 1 year after I came to my faith of like
2019.
Yeah, giving my life to Jesus. So, was it 2019 or 2020? Was it 2019?
I think it was 2019. I mean,
I don't remember either. Oh wait, no.
It was a year after. Well, no. Wait, was it? No, we met during COVID, but it was the beginning stage of COVID.
Okay, so then it was the fall of 2020. So that was like a year and a half of me knowing the Lord. Yeah, that's really cool. And then like the fact that we ran into each other at church, and then it's been cool to see, I think, on both perspectives how individually both of our walks with Christ have just been like continuously like transformed.
Yeah, through like refiner or struggles or hardships and all that, which we're gonna get into. But it's cool. It was cool to see like I said last time on the episode, the perspectives or like the time when you meet someone that like has like recently come to Christ, and how exciting that is. It's like I didn't know you in high school, and I had like you always have judgmental thoughts or thoughts about people you never met before, and it's cool to like get to know them more and be like, wow, that's not who you think they were. And like you're like, oh, like you're a Christian now. Like it's cool to see that, Yeah. Because I was always like
what were your thoughts?
I wasn't like. Well, I was gonna say I wasn't always a Christian in high school. I mean, I was, but I wasn't really like living the way I am now. Not that I'm perfect, but yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say about the thoughts?
No, I was gonna say, like, what were some of those, I guess, thoughts that you were thinking?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I mean, like, you always like see these like cliques and like groups in high school about people, and like for some reason maybe with the people that I thought you associated with was like the partiers and all that or people. I don't know why I thought that, and ever till like to this day I'm like, why the heck did I think that? Like it didn't make any sense, but I guess I did, and no one's perfect, but and then I like got to know who you are more with like your walk with Christ and all that, and like it's cool to see how all those thoughts were lies, and even for like my life. It's kind of sad because like I had those thoughts, and then like even after high school I got into like the partying and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, like why was I judging that person when I'm doing those things now? So yeah, like just those thoughts are like the lies I thought. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was your like reaction when I told you that? That I thought you were like someone that you're not.
Well, I feel like definitely just being where I'm at now in Christ, just kind of like that's just inevitable. Like that's just life. Like people who don't even know you are obviously just gonna like have thoughts about you because that's just, I feel like that's just how our brain works. Is like we almost subconsciously like group people in like categories, and so it's just like it's just simply like once you get to know someone, you might realize like they're not who you think they are, and I think as you just get older, you realize, like, I feel like you maybe become more aware of how you might be, like, judging someone. Yeah. And what I've learned over just, like, my life, like, you literally can never judge a book by its cover. Like, you don't even know, like, their story and all that. But, like, I'm definitely with you on that. Like, it can be so easy to just, like, look at someone's life and being like, they think we know them. And so, yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that as well. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't, like, take anything personal ever. And, like, that's the other cool thing is, like, let's say, like, I was someone that, like, did party and all that stuff, like, literally, like, the power of Jesus, like, literally nothing is, literally nothing is able to, like, nothing stronger than that, like, Jesus can literally take and transform anyone's life. And
it doesn't define, like, all the things that you, like, have, like, judgmental thoughts for, like, those things don't define who you are. Like, once you come to Christ, like, even if you, like, still sin or, like, have, like, willful sin and you're not trying to do that and you're trying to repent, like, by the blood of Christ you are forgiven. And, like, what you're saying before we did the podcast, like, your faith, like, by grace you're saved by faith. Like, none of your sins or, like, thoughts, like, matter anymore because, like, you're forgiven. So
yeah, for
cool.
sure. Yeah,
Cool
like, we literally are a new creation. And I guess I just want to emphasize too, like, let's say you are someone and you're in a crowd that, like, that, where you might find yourself, like, partying on the weekends and you're just taking part of activities where maybe they truly aren't life-giving. Like, maybe for a moment they make you feel a little bit more, like, full and happy, but then you wake up the next day and you're just kind of like, all right, that did not do it. I would just encourage you, like, maybe there is something that is bringing you to this very podcast, and I would just encourage you, like, to just, if you feel like you need more in your life, that's because there is someone that your heart was literally made to know, and that's Jesus. Like, Jesus literally makes you full and complete, literally, in Him, because you were created by God who chose everything about you. He knows the number of hairs on your head. He literally has instilled within every single one of us, like, gifts and passions and desires and dreams and all that stuff. I could just ramble on. But anyway, just know, like, at any time, any moment, no matter what you've gone through, just like Andy said, like, you are forgiven and you can still like, have this, like, relationship with the loving Father at any moment. Like, God is literally with you wherever you're at right now. So,
and it's like pretty funny, I guess, for my life, like, speaking about the things that I've struggled with. Like, I mean, obviously, like, I'm 22, past 21, and, like, I have had experiences, like, drinking and all that, and, like, being drunk sometimes, and, like, being like, wow, like, in the moment, like, this doesn't feel like it's satisfying me at all. Like, I feel most lost when I'm in those times. And, like, it's cool to see, like, when you do come to Christ and, like, you're, like, worshiping and, like, praising God, like, how cool it is to be like, oh wow, like, this, like, it's a reminder of how those things that you do that are not gonna glorify God, and they never fulfill you, and you're like, wow, like, God is cool. Like, He does fulfill you in a way that, like, you just feel complete and you feel like you want to be, like, giving back, like, what's the word called?
The agape
love.
Yeah.
I forget how to explain that, but it was just, like, an overflowing love, and joy, peace for, like, people, because that's how, like, Jesus lived His life. So it's just cool to see that, like, comparison, like, doing all these things, like, drinking, it's not gonna fulfill you ever.
Yeah, wait, so I do have a question, because obviously when we come to know Christ, like, our life is not perfect. We don't automatically, like, flip a switch and, like, everything about ourselves change. Like, it definitely, maybe for some people it's like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I need to cut out. But for some people, like, they don't know exactly what it is in their life that, like, they need to cut out. Or maybe there's, like, things in their life, like, there's, like, sins that they don't even really have the eyes to see that maybe, I mean, actually, I feel like when you do come to know Christ, like, you have new eyes, so you kind of are pretty clear what you maybe should be doing. Okay, so my question for you is, like, being someone who, you said, like, you did party and drink whatever, like, what was your experience with that? Like, how do you feel like, and maybe it's not something that you fully have overcome, or maybe it is, but like, how would you encourage someone to not, like, put themselves down for things that they know they shouldn't do, but it's like they're doing them? Like, how would you just, like, encourage someone in that?
Yeah, let me think about this. Well, from my experiences, I'm just gonna keep one of these things like personal. But I guess we're like, well, so like after like high school, I had like influences of like smoking pot and like drinking and all that, and like that's kind of just like personal stuff. I'm not gonna share on the podcast, but I guess like. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the question. Like, how would you encourage someone to like, not do it? Oh, okay, I know.
Yeah, or just like how to not like feel guilt or shame for things, like and how to like give yourself grace when you're like trying to break away from these things.
I would say like everyone does struggle with like sin in general. So if you're thinking that you're just like in a group where you're like represented as someone that's like, oh, I'm like a pothead, or like I'm like a drinker, I'm just a college student that gets drunk, like categorizing yourself into this person, like I'm here to tell you that you're not, and that's not who God created you to be. Like you're not called to be this person that you think you are. Like you're chosen by God, and that's like really honestly who you are, if you're a believer or not, because God came to save everyone. So just try your best to not think that, and like just realize that if you're like struggling with these sins, like there is hope for you, and there's another like light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's so good, because it's like so important to recognize, like even as believers, if you are someone who is a believer, maybe you're just like just kind of here to just listen to what our experiences have been like as believers. I just like want to emphasize, like you don't need to like put yourself to shame just because you know like you're doing certain things. Maybe that's just like a call from the Spirit literally in you to just maybe the Spirit's kind of like stir up like, hey, this actually isn't fulfilling for you, but if you turn your face to Jesus, like even though it might be difficult and challenging at first, like he's the only one that will bring you life and life to the fullest. And I would just encourage you, like ask Jesus to like help you with that process. And I would just also encourage you, like confession is literally one of like the greatest ways to just kind of expose your sins. And I've definitely just have been learning that like the enemy wants to keep you like isolated and in hiding, but by exposing like just like your sins and like your darkness, because like everybody carries like different things they don't like want other people to maybe know about, but it's like we're not perfect, like we literally are meant to be perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. And like literally just like confessing your sins and like being real and raw also help you in relationships too. But yeah, just know like there is freedom, like there really is freedom for whatever it is you're struggling with. So
yeah, like
do not forget that
being like authentic, and and like the devil's gonna always want you to like hold your sin, like feel like you're in like a cage, and he's not gonna want you to bring it to the light. But once you do bring it to light and you can like confess, like you don't need to confess it to everyone, like just find someone who you trust, or like find like a mentor or something. Like it definitely does like get you in the mindset of like reaching out to other people, and then from that people will see like, oh, this person's struggling with this sin, like, oh, like I'm struggling with it too, like let's talk about it, and you know, go from there.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so now
that was the intro.
That was literally the intro.
Oh,
okay, so let's just dive into the life of Andrew Carlson. So what's like a little story, like what's like a little defining moment of your childhood that you feel like just like displays a little bit of your character, like who you are today? Because I feel like when you look back on your life and like you look at yourself like as a kid, you can kind of see little moments that like of who you are. Like I was using the example with a previous episode with Deemer24, aka Austin Deemer. I was using the example with him, like maybe when you were younger you would like dance in the kitchen counter, like rapping and performing. And he was like, actually yeah, that is what I would do. And not that like you know like what your like career or like your lifelong career is gonna be or whatever it is, but it's like there are gifts inside of you. So like, what are some of those things that you feel like just really like show your personality if you look at yourself as a kid?
All right, so I was 3 months premature, like being born, with my twin brother, Matt, and so I was 2 pounds 5 ounces when I was born, and I mean we don't have a camera to show like my hand, but my head was as big as my palm of my hand, which
Wow.
is like that. And so we had like I had all these like problems, like I didn't like to eat a lot. I was just like underweight and all these things, like with physical disability in my legs, and like I was born like something called breech baby, where like your legs are just like flipped, so I had to have surgery and all this
Wow.
stuff. So basically I couldn't like pursue sports because I was just like too small, where I didn't want to like damage my legs in any way. So it's kind of ties in with my like parents' divorce and like them splitting up, and my dad going to work and like bringing home these like little drums from one of his jobs. And then so I was pursued music. So I guess that's like a little story of like the behind the scenes of like my life. And I think one maybe funny story is that we were playing basketball at one of my old house, and I think I was like pretty little, like 3 or 4, and I was like struggling to like walk correctly because my legs were not like formed like where they are now, and so like I was always like keep tripping, and I was like getting annoyed. And my parents were like always look at that video and laugh because like they would see me struggle. So I think that it really just has defined me. Like I just try to like take it one day at a time, and I think I'm pretty like positive with like being optimistic because I always had to be like with my struggle. Yeah, my physical disability.
Yeah, no, I seriously appreciate you sharing that, because it's just like one of those, it's like a circumstance that like you had no control over, but clearly like the way that like that time of your life and like just being like that young and like learning maybe like just like becoming aware of like being premature and like probably like growing up and like learning like what that meant has like probably made you so much like stronger and like created the posture of your heart to just like probably be so grateful that and just like thinking about like little you and like what you experienced like that like just shows like just like your motivation and your integrity and like your ability to like endure trials, which like 100% like create like are part of your testimony, and like knowing that like for like I don't know why like when you're born, like it's like I can't comprehend like why certain situations like that happen. However, like God literally says like you're created in my image, so it's like literally everything about you. Like it's like when God looks at you, it's like His face is like shine upon you, and it's like He sees Himself like you're like a reflection of God. So it's like literally who you are. Like it's like I get to like look at you like your brother, and like when you look at your friends, like you actually get to see like a reflection of God in them, because He says like you were literally created in my image, like man and woman created in my image, and we were called very good. Like the whole everything in the world was called good. And, like after like He made the ocean, He said it was good. After He made like all the animals, it was good. Like the night and the sky and the stars, He said it was good. But when He made like man and woman, He literally said we were very good. And it's like I can't even imagine like I don't even know like God's perspective. Like when He says like we're very good, it means like literally look at yourselves in the mirror. I mean, we look at ourselves in the mirror, like we are very good. Like I don't even know. Like it's like it's like the stars are good, but we are very good. Like it's just like that. I look at the sky with like so much like awe and wonder.
When I like look at the animals, I think I forget what passage in the Bible it says. Like probably in Genesis, it's cool to see like, or at least with my brain comprehending it, I'm like, so I have a horse, or like I don't have a horse, but like my neighbors have a horse, and his name's Leo, and it's cool to see how like I can comprehend like the horse, and the horse can't comprehend me. Like the horse is not saying, oh, like this kid's giving me a carrot, he's really annoying, like he's like petting me and all that, but like we can comprehend ourselves being created, like, but we also can't comprehend it. Like literally yesterday I was like looking at the moon and the stars. I'm like, yeah, we're just on this planet in the middle of the universe. What does that mean? Like we can't even comprehend it. But it's cool to see that like God has called us to be like greater or like more good than like animals or
Mm-hmm.
like birds. Like I see birds, I'm like, do they like have a consciousness? Do they even like know like they're living? But then like it's cool to see like that perspective, and then like us having like consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird.
That's actually funny because I was thinking about like bears and like animals that hibernate. And like, how do they know to hibernate?
Yeah.
And like, how do they
There's an
know to
instinct.
go gather? Like, it's just crazy. And it's like thinking about like just like the consciousness, like it's kind of like I feel like maybe limited on animals, but it's like just like how God created us to literally be able to like think and ask questions and like just like have emotions and like to like actually look up at the like imagine if like you just see all these animals like just like pausing in their tracks and like looking up at the sky like but it's like
so funny.
but it's like we literally get to like look up and like just comprehend the fact that like this is literally like so beautiful. Like when you look at like a sunset, like it's like it literally makes like our heart like feel something, and it's just like I don't know, I'm just like so grateful for that that like we're really born with that ability. But I also wanted to share so we talk often about how like moments are miracles, and maybe when you just like let yourself hop into an unknown, it can take you somewhere pretty cool. So Andy, you should share what happened is literally past weekend, like 2 days ago.
That's way so fun. Okay, so in my older episode, why do I keep saying older?
I know, I keep saying older episodes. This is
like
really,
2 months ago.
this is actually our first episode official.
Like,
But he's talking about our original episode that got deleted when he says that.
Yeah, so in like my story, or I guess I'll eventually like tell it later on, but through like hard times and like healing from a lot of stuff and like being free from all these things, I just had like this moment where I was driving around church and being lost. And through like my hard times and experiences in life, I didn't feel lost in direction-wise because I wasn't lost like emotionally. So it was cool to see like me driving and like being like, oh, I'm just kind of driving along. Like I don't feel like I need to be anywhere. I don't feel like I need to like take a left, take a right. Let me just see where it leads me.
Yeah.
So then like 2 days ago, I think.
Wait, sorry, before you move on to the story, is that when you just decided to start doing that, was that out of something specific, or was you just like one day like I'm just gonna literally go drive around like walk around my church like the original time of you doing that?
Well, that was like after like I had like a hard time and like I take like drives like randomly and all that, but it's like the entrance from our church was blocked off, so I was like okay, let me go the back way. And I was like, well, crap, my phone's dead. I don't know where I'm going. But I felt like so at peace at that time where like I didn't care where I was driving. I was like, well, the only thing I can do is like pray, like ask God for directions, and I found my way. Like I took a right near the Wawa. I'm like, okay, there's a Wawa, boom, I'm good. And so then I went back to the church, and then I guess from that perspective, it was just like weird. So then like 2 days ago, I was like, didn't have that much food because I like was working all day, and I was like, let me just take a drive, and I didn't feel like taking a drive like anywhere. I was like, let me just like, I was like jamming out my car. I'm like, let me just drive somewhere. So I just started driving to Westchester. And I'm like, why am I in like Westchester right now? I don't care where I'm driving. Well, I was like, well, let me get some food. So I stopped at Wawa and I got some food. I'm like, I don't feel like going home. Let me just keep. My mom was like, where are you? I'm like, at Wawa. And I was like, well, I'll see you later. And then I kept driving. And I was like, let me just go straight. I'd never been like in this direction, like straight into Westchester. Like I took a left to go to work like every single day. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know where I'm going. And then eventually, like, I took a right. And I was like, oh, like I feel like I'm being like led into a direction, like pretty much like being drawn in direction. And like it was so funny because I ended up going to the church with like that I've only been to like once, and it was for like a Carry the Love event.
Wait, this past Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was that was called Ping Pong-a-thon.
Ping Pong-a-thon.
Yeah. That was like it's a 24-hour event. They're actually just a little plug for Ping Pong-a-thon. They're an amazing organization that they help to try and fundraise money to help victims of human trafficking. So that event actually took place right here from like a local like family that helped get it started in Westchester. Yeah, so anyway, back to the story.
Yeah,
so you
so
ended up at church that
uh,
was hosting ping pong-a-thon.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
24-hour event, let me remind you, 7 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Oh, I didn't know that. It was an overnight thing? Oh, I should have stayed. I should have stayed.
You
I didn't know
should
that. That'd be so funny, And then so I was at the top parking lot of like Providence. I was actually kind of freaking out. I was like, this is like weird. Like, I don't even know why I'm here, but I feel like I need to be here. And I was like, well, what's the next step? Am I going to leave and go home, or am I just going to walk in with no one inviting me, seeing random people? I've only been into the place once. I was like, let me just walk in and see what's up. So I go down to this room in ping pong. I have no idea why I'm there. I just sit down, like, I'm like staring in the corner for like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I think I recognize someone that was actually on this podcast. And his name was Austin. I was like, hey, what's up? I heard your story on your podcast. And like that was just crazy to like have all the experiences like with meeting new people and like seeing how everything connects. And I was like, yeah, well, I think I saw on your Instagram that you're like performing a song. I was like, I'll be back in a couple hours. And then I went there to watch, like hang out and like play ping pong.
Oh, no way. So you showed up and then you came back later.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, well, I don't want to stay there for too long because I just didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely hard to get out of your comfort zone in that way. Like being at a church you've never really been to. Like, in the basement with no one. And then so like went home. I was like, okay, let me plan to like go to an event, because even in that moment I was like, this is so weird, so random. Like I wasn't planning on being there. And then so I went home, came back, and then I started playing ping pong with like random people I don't know. But it was cool because I didn't feel like awkward or anything. I just went with the flow. And I saw someone from like high school there that I knew. Like we graduated in the same class, and then
Wait, who?
Tim. You know Tim?
Oh yeah, Tim there.
Yeah. I think he was the leader there. Yeah.
He leads at Henderson.
Henderson. Yeah. And it was really funny that we started talking, and then like we waited to see the performance. And it was so funny because like thinking that I could have just gone home after work, but now I'm here watching the performance going, yeah.
That is so cool.
It's so
you're
cool.
looking for some food, and did you find yourself and did you end up finding yourself a ton of food at the event? They had like pizza and snacks.
They had like a bunch of waters. I just got a water. I didn't buy a lot of food, but or get a few. But
that's so funny. And you end up at a concert, literally for someone so that was like that you got to know because of the Best Day Ever podcast.
So funny.
That's literally so cool.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I just love to shout out people. If you guys haven't listened to Austin Deemer, who goes by the name Deemer24, DEAMER24. You guys have to go check out his music. He's just dropped like 4 new songs. Yeah, 4 new songs, and they're on a SoundCloud. So definitely go check them out. My favorite songs right now. I just love the OG Loyalty and Trust.
Yeah,
and I think the one called Midnight. I think it's called Midnight. And then it was so cute. He had Christina come up on the stage and dance. And like they were like dancing together. It was like the cutest thing. Anyway, that's really cool. So let's rewind. I think we have to rewind a ton. But let's get to the part of the story where you were talking about how you like recently went through like a hard time, and I'm asking this question, but I already know what you experienced, and it's really cool because as you're pulling up your notes, I'll just intro this. So the very first episode that I came out with, I talked about how during the COVID and 2021, I feel like I went through like a refiner. And if you know what a refiner is, it's like this like furnace. Like it's like really hot, and you like put like items and materials in the refiner, and it like extracts like toxins and things that like just are not healthy, they're not good for you. So a refiner, like you go through like extreme heat, like extreme temperatures, but you come out of it like in a better state because you're like made up, like it has extracted like the bad things. And so I thought about myself and my life, and I was like, oh my gosh, like literally I feel so bold in Christ. Like I just feel so confident. I just feel like I've like found my voice, and it was only because not because I got saved, but it was like a year and a half later when I was like, I felt like I found my identity in Christ. And once you find your identity in Christ, and you know, like, literally you're full and complete as you are. There's nothing more you have to do, be, or become. It doesn't matter about like what people think about you. Like your worth is literally found in the fact that you're a child of God and you're loved and you're seen. Like you're loved so deeply. Like it's like when I wrap my head around that I don't have to do anything but just literally be who I am, because I am like an individual made by God. And like I have like gifts and all those things. Like when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I am just like full as I am. And additionally, like, so why I specifically went through a refiner is because as I was talking about how you have to release all of these like bad just like bad energy. For me, it was like I feel like I had to look back on my childhood and I realized just like my position and like a lot of things I had went through and how that just really did play an emotional toll on me, and I never wanted to like express or even like go to that part of my memory, I guess. I think I was just suppressing years and years and years, and like I'm 21 years old, and I think I was like suppressing so many like years and memories that I just didn't want to like have to think about. But like many, COVID like forced me to have to confront that, and so I went through a lot of dark times. But it's like the big takeaway is like, how do you know that these bad memories are leaving you? You know that because you're literally like experiencing your emotions. Like the only way to know something is leaving you is when you feel it. And so I literally like went through like so many hard days, and I was like crying and I was emotional. But that was literally my sign that like it's like leaving me, because I was like literally experiencing me. It's almost like the tears were like it being like extracted from my body, and like I didn't have to carry so many things with so much weight anymore. I could like actually be free and mean it. And then like just allowed me to grow even more like trusting and faithful to God. And now like here I am, and I just feel like I'm like on fire. And don't get me wrong, I still have like hard days, but I'm sure I'll probably continue to go through like seasons of like being refined. But I did, and it actually was like a big spin on how this podcast was created. But
that's the reason why I'm here. Like I would never be here if you didn't go through that. And it's like cool to see, like you never know when you're going through these things, like, oh yeah, I know like why this is happening or what this means, but it's cool to see like how God is faithful. I have a little snippet in my notes, and it says, you don't really know how God works in your midst of your struggles because you need faith to see them. At the end of your struggles, you see the other perspective or positive result because God is faithful. That's the one of my many notes that I have on my phone. Yeah, it's cool to see. Like I never thought I was gonna be like so joyful and like have all these like just like freedom. Like my theme for this year, I guess, like, or my season in life is like, you know the saying, what's it called? Dance or like no one's watching or whatever.
Yeah.
My theme is like dance if everyone's watching, but like not even care.
I love that.
Like I like sometimes like be alone, like taking walks at night, like jamming out to my music and like making stupid videos, and like no one knows where I am. But like, it's cool because like even if like you do think people are judging you, like it doesn't matter. Like why would I care if someone judged me? Because it doesn't like that doesn't define who I am.
You should say that one more time. That little slogan.
My little slogan. Okay, so don't live your life as in like dance. Like don't dance in life as if someone is not watching you. Like experience life and live life as if everyone was watching you, but like you just don't care because you have the joy in your heart to live life.
It's like when you literally just know who you are and you don't care about like validation or affirmation from anyone. You literally can walk into a room where maybe no one likes you and it doesn't even bother you because you're like, I know who I am. That's really good. And it doesn't mean like be like arrogant and like, all that. Like, but it's just like your worth doesn't lie in other people. It literally is already found. Like it's like your value will never be founded in things of this earth that are fleeting and they come and go. Like your value can only be found literally in the one who's constant and like the one that created you.
The one that created you.
So I love that. Literally when like you know that, like it's like then you can actually do that. You can literally like dance like everyone's watching, but you just don't care.
It is really cool. And like one of my things I say, like, I don't want to go too much with my notes because I think we're doing a good job, like, free-flowing.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I actually prefer for you to, like, just share. Like, I want you to take the mic. Like, I want you to take the mic
Okay.
and just, like, share
Okay.
everything that is on your heart.
Okay. So, yeah, like, with just, like, being, like, free and kind of just, like, living life and all that, my theme for my refiner, which Olivia just explained, was actually a bunch of things. And it was a healing perspective, being vulnerable, and trusting God to yield change. And that's like the main four main things that I kind of have like gone through. And like it's been like weird from all those things. Is like it's kind of like a nuclear bomb dropping in your life and being like, wow, like your life is so different from who you were. And it's just like crazy. Like I just even think all the experiences that I've had like the last 6 months or like this year, like perspective wise, it just I feel like a new person completely, and it's just really weird. Cause like for me, like I was like had like this comfort zone, and I never knew that like if you get out of your comfort zone and like you go through these struggles, like you can grow so much. Cause I was like always so stubborn in high school. I was like, no, I don't really think this opportunity or experience is good for me. And I just didn't really like kind of like live life and have these experiences. And then even after I was like thrown into all these like hard emotions and all that, I was just like, well, I'm in this now and I don't really know where you're taking me, God, but like here I am now, and like it's so cool to see like the change in life. Yeah.
Yeah,
much.
that is so good. I feel like sometimes as humans, it's like we want to answer, and sometimes we like have these emotions and we're like, I don't know why I feel like this, like God, like show me what you're trying to teach me. But sometimes you just have to like walk in like a time of just like uncomfortability, or you just have to like trust God that like there's a reason for everything, there's a reason for every season. Maybe you're in a point of life where like nothing seems to make sense, but if you are like looking to Him to find your comfort, like something I've learned is like I'm trying to actually be okay with the unknown. Because as someone, I'm like someone that loves to just have like answers and I love to have like clarity on things. So trusting God and just like actually like looking now to be like, okay, God, like how can you transform me in this situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really would love for you to just like share.
Keep sharing. Yeah. So my beginning of my note says that everybody goes through hard times or bad days. But when you feel stuck your whole life with vulnerability, or you don't know how to feel about certain aspects of your life, you tend to feel afraid of life and you don't actually live it. So this is my like story about healing, perspective, being vulnerable, and trusting God to yield change.
So healing, perspective, vulnerability, and trusting God to yield change.
Yeah.
Wow, those
like,
are some good
good
pointers.
Yeah.
All right, let's just dive right into it.
Okay. So I organized my notes a little bit more. And I have to ask the question, like, what is vulnerability? Because I, like, had no idea what it was. I was like, ew, like, this word feels, like, weird, like, to me.
Being vulnerable, sharing my emotions.
Yeah, like, it just, like, felt uncomfortable because, like, no one likes to do that. And the reason why is because I have the definition. Where is it? I don't know where it is. I think. Oh yeah, it says the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally, and that's probably the reason why people don't want to do it, because they don't want to be like judged. But I found these two quotes when I was writing these notes. That rhymed, and it said, "The things we do to avoid vulnerability end up causing us more pain than vulnerability itself." And I was like, wow. That's so true, though, because that's why I was been so stuck in life, because I always kept throwing all my emotions under a rug. And I'm like, why the heck did I experience, like, this change in life now? Like, why couldn't I have done it, like, years ago? But I think there's a reason for that. And another quote says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. And that's so true, though, because I think, like, we can get distracted with being, like, weak and showing our emotions, but being vulnerable, like, those are two completely different things. And, yeah, I think those are just cool, like, two quotes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that last one. Like, vulnerability is not. What was it again? It was like vulnerability
is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's really good because, like you said, like I feel like sometimes being vulnerable is scary, like 100%. But it's like why not? It's like why not like share like. I don't know, like I feel like when we take the pressure out of ourselves and we stop looking inward and we look at like outward and how like literally like sharing and like other people, like in the Bible it says it's like people, like it's like your friends and community, they want to like share like they want to share with your burdens, like they want to like they want to like they don't want, like as people it's like we literally can't do this life on our own. It's like we have to share and be open and like let other people in on our burdens so that they can like help ease that time and like that season, and like by sharing it like and just maybe with someone who's like a more seasoned believer or who knows, like, or literally could be like your friend, or maybe just journaling and like putting it outside. You don't even know, like, that kind of, like, power of healing. Because, like, we can't do it on ourselves. We can't do it by ourselves. And we can't do it on our own. And also, I was going to say, like, the power of, like, being vulnerable might allow someone else to be like, wow, like, that's what, like, they went through. Because I went through this, too. And, like, they were able to get through it. That means like, it's just, like, you're now giving power to, like, someone else. Like, Jesus is using you to, like, give power to someone else's story and to be like, redeemed and saved through whatever they're going and experiencing through as well.
Yeah, and these are like towards the end of my notes, but it says one of the bullet points, I have 2 brackets, how does this help others from my story and how does this help me? And one of the 4th bullet says you can lead people to Jesus by telling your testimony and your faith. And the 3rd one says you can pray for people and let them know what you're struggling with, and then like so they can be open and that's like some of the things that I learned from going through all these things. So then, like, to tie it back into that, like, I think the beginning of my hard times, I'm still gonna like not want to say this, but like just because it's hard. So pretty much like my beginning was of my story was me being in my room listening to a song that Adele dropped, and it said it was a Go Easy on Me, and I have some of the lyrics. I didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. I know there is hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim. And I think for some reason, like those lyrics in that song really resonated with me, with a lot of things that I was like going through in my room, crying, like listening to the song. And I just have a bunch of list of things that I was like going through, and I'm just gonna keep it brief. But what I was pretty much thinking in that song was like things of not changing or embracing change, feeling stuck with my parents' divorce and not seeing my dad a lot, and connecting with him over the years. Never seen my parents together ever in a relationship. And, like, that's so hard, like not seeing your parents. Not that like I don't forgive them or it's like their fault, but like you have such a broken view of like a relationship that you should have seen your parents together, and that's hard. And I think from that, like me not being in a relationship ever and like not or having feelings of not wanting to get hurt and being vulnerable, so that kind of like shut out that part of my life. And then my grandpa passed away in 2019, and we were selling his house because he had dementia, and we were just throwing a bunch of stuff away, and it was like just a pivotal point in my life where I'm like, if you don't learn to like go through your hard times and just allow these things to happen, like you're not going to change, and like life is going to keep moving. And so that was like, wow, like I couldn't like hide anymore, so I just had to like cry and let all that pain out. And from there it was like this roller coaster of emotions and all that. So yeah, if you want to add on to that.
No, I think I feel like sometimes like it can literally feel like almost every area of your life is just like crashing down, but I think, well, I was also someone that like grew up in like a divorced, well, my parents actually never got married. They were it was like a separated, how they got separated when I was like 5 years old. And so yeah, like I just like, can totally relate to just like a lot of those things about like the idea of like relationships and like marriage. But it's like now like as believers, it's like what better example do we have than literally like the love that Jesus has like for the church.
Yeah.
So I just I feel so grateful to now have that like to look at as like the expression of love that is just like giving without expectation, just like everything. And it's like I just like live like excited. I'm like, okay, God, I know what I want. I know like what kind of man I want and like who I'm gonna marry one day. So now I'm just like excited, and it's like if that's a season of my life I'm not in, then that just means like that is like what's to come one day. And now I'm like, all right, God, like, how do you want to use me now, like, in the season I'm in right now? And now here I am with, like, this podcast. And, like, for you, like, we can get to that, like, after you dive into, like, your story. But there's definitely, like, outlets and things that God's doing now to... I think he's, like, preparing you for something really cool. And
I don't know what it is,
you just started, like, a poetry
page.
So
everything happens for a reason. And, like, my... like... I just want to say, like, life is just so crazy and cool. And, like, I don't know, just, like, even when you go through hard times, like, there is another side that's, like, joy and peace. And, like, life is just so bittersweet. And so everything happens for a reason. My account on Instagram got hacked. And I was trying to help this person, like, figure out their passcode. And that was an actual hack. It's so annoying. Oh, can you help me out? Like, send me, like, your number or, like, this is for the link. I was like, yeah, sure, let me help you out.
Dang, trying to be a nice guy.
I even told you, I was like, don't respond to my text or my message if that happens. And then... So I was like, sure, like, I'm kind of busy right now, let me do it. And then I couldn't log into my Instagram account because I forgot my password. I'm like, you little... And then my brother comes out of the room and he goes, did you get this message? And I'm like, yeah. And then we're both like, wow, our Instagram got hacked. So I had to remake all my Instagram, follow all the people. Doesn't matter about followers, though. And then I was like, well, let me just, like, make... my Instagram the way I want to going through all these hard times. And then I literally had like one of my posts that I had was talking about like how I didn't want to like have Instagram as like just main posts, main things that I wanted to just post about my life events, like going out and having fun. I wanted to like mean something, and so if I can find it, it was just basically me saying like I don't care like what I post anymore. And like I do post a lot, and it's like I've definitely had hard times recently where like I want to post but I don't want to post too much. And then like some people might not be vulnerable enough or like think to be like, oh, I want to like support you or like, and all that stuff. So it's just like hard. I'm still trying to find it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like it can be so easy, especially on social media, to be like, I don't know, like, I don't want to post because then blah, 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 blah. But, like, literally, it's like, if you just take it as, like, an expression of, like, who you are and, like, you're just spreading love and positivity. And, like, there are people that, like, do care about, like, your thoughts. So I would just, encourage you to just, like, just share freely. Like, because literally, it's just, like, it's more for you than anyone else. Like, honestly, it's just, like, do it for you and... like just like the glory of God, because even if no one like is like commenting or responding back, like doesn't mean like you didn't like like maybe insert like a positive thought into someone's like negative day. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it says, so this is an old post. It says, hey guys, I've never really used Instagram for a big following or views. Not really sure what I wanted to post on it throughout the years. But the more I grow up, I want it to mean something. Not that posts about good things in life are bad, but I feel like for me it's something that I should mean more. And then I talk about how I've recently gone through a hard time. And then basically this says, this is a little checkpoint in my life to see where I'm at, and it's a documentary post. Hopefully by the end of the year or New Year's to come, I will learn more and share too. Don't be afraid to share or let people know what's happening in your life that might seem too small or boring to share. Because at the end of the day, it's not normal to record all your best moments in life through a screen. And that's pretty much like what I wanted to say. Like I don't care anymore like what I post, honestly. Like even if it's so small, like it does matter. Like it has a meaning to it. So.
Yeah, you should shout out your Instagram.
Okay, it's Andrew Carlson 22, capital A for Andrew, capital C for Carlson 22. and it has a picture of me, black and white picture.
And then what's your poetry
Oh yeah, so
page?
Oh, my quote page, yeah.
Your quote page.
The quote page. It's Andy's quotes _2299. And it has like quotes and encouragement about life and faith. And it has like 4 things on it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so pretty much that. And then, yeah, so like I just don't care when I post anymore.
Yeah. It's so free. It's like freeing to just be like, I'm doing this for me. And whoever wants to come along on my journey, stay tuned. If not, like, it also doesn't bother me. Yeah. So back to the story. So you were talking about like vulnerability, and then how that has just kind of like been again experience and like a challenge.
So it says in my notes, I had to go through the things that I thought were causing me the most pain and sadness, but in perspective, I could never go through it because I didn't feel it. And I think from your older podcast, like you said, I forget what you said. I think I have it. To know you're letting go of something is to first feel it, and I think that's so cool because it's like, what the heck? I didn't allow myself to feel those sad like emotions, but I also didn't have that perspective when I was young to even know that. And I think everything happens for a reason. Like I'm here in this moment, like because God wanted me to be in this moment. And then so I just went through all these hard times, and I would sit in my car, like just start crying, like feeling depressed, like feeling pretty much where I was like at the worst of my life, like worst time of my life mentally, and just kind of feeling hopeless, like just being kind of like depressed. But I've never like really been like depressed. Didn't feel like, or at least like clinical depression. And then so it says the reason why I was stuck for so long with vulnerability and to love myself more and to be okay with getting like close to people was because I didn't have that perspective. I kind of already said that. And then so as I was going through these hard times, I started having realizations. And then one of them was like, if you're not together with someone, you're having a kid, like you do have like this like weight that you carried like to like seek out the relationship, and if it doesn't work, like it kind of is hard for the kids to experience that. And like in society, like life is never going to be like the way society like pictures it. It's like on TikTok you always see all these things that you think are the way it is, but like relationships and all that, like for my parents' divorce, like it takes a lot of like time, trust, communication, and all that. And through these hard times, like I would be like from kind of like the beginning of the podcast talking about like alcohol and all that, I would like drink alcohol to like suppress these emotions, but I didn't know that it's not going to help me. And I was like, oh, well, why am I doing this? Like deep down I was like, well, I probably just want to like cry when I can't really like cry and have these experiences or emotions and all that. It's confusing, but I was like, that's definitely not what I want to do. I don't want to drink alcohol to cry. And yeah, those are some of the realizations. Like I have more, but if you want to like add on to that, I'm kind of rambling on. Yeah, but anyways, I'm gonna keep going. And
yeah, I'll just sorry, I keep telling Andy, I'm like, no, keep going. Like I want you to just like share your story straight through because I know you have a lot to share. So yeah, I just wanted to say, like, everything you're saying right now, like, I know you're speaking to someone and, like, someone's being encouraged, like, with your story because you're definitely not the only one who experiences, like, those thoughts of just kind of, like, just, like, heaviness. And a lot of people, like, I feel like have those emotions there, but they're not even letting it get to the surface. Yeah. So the fact that... yeah, you're just, like, openly sharing this, and, like, you're showing, like, what it's like to actually...
be a real person.
Yeah, be real and, like, have, like, emotions. I know this is, like, already so encouraging. So I seriously just, like...
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, like, so great. So, yeah, just keep continuing.
Okay. And then, so... Like, I want to share more about, like, the alcohol part, because I feel like... I just want to share, like, the struggles of, like... That's a real, like, struggle and all that. I definitely do struggle with it sometimes, but because, like, I couldn't really comprehend or like just maybe like come to terms with like my parents splitting up and all that, I would be like, well, like I can't really express like these emotions. Like for some reason, I just don't know how to feel about the certain aspect of my life. And like it's not like a bad thing that my parents remarried, and everything happens for a reason. But I just couldn't like cry a lot, so I would think that like being more sensitive to emotions with alcohol would help me, and like in the end, it doesn't. And then like through those hard times, I would go out with my friends and like getting some food, or like there's one time where I was like zoning out, and like I just couldn't talk about stuff because I knew that like people weren't like experiencing what I was experiencing at the time, and so I would kind of zone out. I wouldn't really want to talk, but I would want to talk because I wouldn't want to feel isolated. But when I did talk, I just didn't know how to explain it to someone. And then through all those times of just being in like this like dark spot, I was like slowly healing, and I didn't know what that meant for the future.
Mm-hmm. So you found yourself just like basically like just like a rush of so many things. It's like like between like your grandpa passing and like selling the house and like probably feeling like the weight of like your childhood, and then like thinking back on like your parents' divorce, and then it's like, what is love? What is a relationship?
Yeah, all that stuff,
and then it's like now you have, and then you have like the factor of just like alcohol and drinking and
all that stuff.
like all these ways. It's like all these. That's like definitely a lot of. That's like that's very heavy. It's a very heavy experience to have to like go through.
Yeah. And then so like I didn't like know at the time that I was healing, and like there would be times where like I literally feel like basically I was like going through all these hard times, and then like at a certain point I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like so free from like crying and from all these things, and like even when I was like crying for the first time really like with this song, like I would obviously cry because I'm human, but there are certain times where like you feel like you need to just let everything out. And I think that's like for me, like in society wise, like not that like girls don't cry or guys don't cry, but like for me, I think there's like, because I'm a guy, like people just don't like expect you to like cry, or like you kind of hold it back. But I was like, no, I'm just gonna go through all these like emotions and all that. And
so you would say, so I just want to like make sure it's clear like for like all the listeners too. So you would say like you kind of went through a time like when you like stopped drinking and you just like let yourself like actually like feel the emotions for real, and it was like during that period that you like started to feel like freer.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I guess like what were like some of those moments that you allowed yourself to like what were you telling yourself in those times to be like, no, like it's okay like, to just like feel my emotions?
It was like, well, after the song I was like from all the things I thought about, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to go back from just, like, putting those things away, because it was, like, boom, every aspect of my life was in those thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Like, while you're listening to
Easy
song, on Me,
I was like, oh, my gosh. I was like, wow, like, because, like, you know, like, when there's something's wrong, and, like, you start crying, and, like, you just start breaking down, like you feel like there's,
100%.
And, like, there's a difference between crying and, like, being, like, wow, my life is, like, kind of crashing down on me, like you feel like you like lost something. And then so I was like, let me just like keep listening to the song. So I listened to the song every single time I listened to it like 3 or 4 times. I would like do the same thing and like just like cry, and then like by doing that and going through those emotions and feeling lost and feeling depressed, like I was still healing, because that's what you do. Like when you heal, like you move on. And that's what I did, and like slowly I was healing, and I didn't know it at the time. And this Bible verse says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect," which it does, "that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." And that's so cool, because like I don't feel like I'm lacking anything when like I'm experiencing the joy of like God and all that. Excuse me. And I think it's cool because like when I was like going through those hard times, and I went to like the porch, and like that's my youth group for college kids at my church, I was talking to my like youth leader, and I was like tearing up, telling him all those things that I was just recently talking about, and he's like, yeah, dog, if you like you're experiencing joy like by going all through these hard times, and like at the worst times in your life, like that's when you hear God the most, and I think that's so cool. And I didn't know that at the time. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I am experiencing peace and joy. And those experiences came with, like, complete peace and joy. I had, like, no care in the world. Like, I felt like I was living my life through a movie, like, in a way. Like, it was just so weird. Like,
no, for real.
Dropping all these, like, hard things in my life and being free. I'm like, you know, like, I can just, like, do what I want now and not, like, care.
Not be burdened.
Yeah.
Just, like...
It was so weird. Like, I think I saw the sun setting, and I posted on my, like, Snapchat, like, God is good. And, like, literally I felt, like, bliss over my life, like a filter, of like, an Instagram filter. It was, like, it felt so, like, nice. And, like, there's times, like, slowly I would, like, heal and then go through, like, work, a hard time. Mm-hmm. And then, like, I was pretty much just, like, moving on from all these hard things. And then, like, it made me, like, realize that I can just, like, communicate with people more, like, talk, like, not try to have any filters or barriers. And, like, that alone was, like, really weird perspective, because I was like, why is my, like, life in these, like, this week of me experiencing this, like, feel so different? Like, I feel like a completely new person.
Wow. That
is
literally
so weird.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like, it's like you stepped from... it's like you were living this life, and it's like you're doing the things, like, all right, God, like, where are you gonna take me? And I swear, it's like when you go through a moment of like actually like facing what has, it gets like, it's so much greater than eternity. It's so much greater than the fact that, like, all right, cool, like there's heaven, like. When it's like when your eyes are open to the fact that there's actually like a purpose for you right now and today, and like there's like a story for you, and like your story matters. That is like the entire game changer. Like, it's like literally a game changer. And it's like, and you get to a point, and it's like when you think about Jesus and what he died for on the cross, like it's like what he died for. It's like it was like for like the shame and the guilt, and not that like you have something specifically that you were like being like felt guilty for, but even just like your parents' story, and it's just realizing like you don't have control over that. Like for me, it's like I don't have control over the fact that like I don't know what it's like for like two like people to like love each other and have like a healthy marriage. Like, it's like I don't know what those things are, but I just know that like God does redeem everything, and then. It's like if we're sitting around like moping every day, like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I did this. Well, like, of course we did. Like, we're literally human. Like, we're not perfect. And it's like if we're walking around like carried by like the shame and the guilt of like our past, or even what we did yesterday. It's like, then what did Jesus die for? Like, Jesus died so we'd be set free, and that we would like walk around with our head high and like realize like literally the power of the Holy Spirit that like lies within you. And it's so cool because like you're talking about like the joy that you're like feeling. Like, it's literally, there's no other reason to explain that kind of joy, but literally like the evidence, like it's like the evidence of the Holy Spirit. Like, it's like you literally get to live like witness to the fact that there's like a Holy Spirit living inside of you, and it's crazy because it's like that's exactly what I went through, and it's like unexplainable.
But I wanted to ask you like more about your experiences. Like, I know you said like you always felt like you needed to be the strong, like independent one, or like the oldest person in your family. But like, was it because of your parents' divorce, or not divorce, like separation? Was that like the reason why you felt like you needed to be the independent person, or what? Was there like a background, like another thing or event that happened that made you go through those things?
So you're like asking specifically like what makes us, or what made me feel like I had to be strong? Yeah,
like, or like when you're like saying that you're going through these like emotions and crying. Like,
okay.
Like, what was like defining like three, like maybe a couple things that you're like, this is why I'm trying to like go through all these
emotions? I think it's just the fact that like, I mean, I feel like nobody's childhood is perfect, but I just came from like such like a broken life. Like, there's just a lot of like fighting, and I felt like I had like my role, I just felt like I had to be the responsible one. So I have 4 older siblings and 4 younger siblings. So I'm one of 9. I'm one of 9 children. I'm the middle child. So my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. But like growing up, when I'd go to my dad's house, I was like the oldest one there, and I think just naturally, like being the oldest, you like take on the responsibility. And I almost like looking back, I think it's just the fact that like, I don't know, like there wasn't like a specific moment. It's just literally like me, who I was. All I knew to be was just to be strong, and I feel like I almost never got to be a kid and like be like carefree, and I feel like I always just had, not because of my parents like, Olivia, you have to do this. It was just more like I felt like I had to be just from my own. Like it's crazy because I could have taken like two different routes. I could have just been like so careless and I could have been like, all right guys, like you guys can worry about yourself, but like for me I was like, okay, I'm gonna help. I help in driving. I like started paying my phone bill when I was like 16.
Jeez,
I
you.
I like, I don't know, like worked so hard. I paid my way through college, like just like a lot of like different responsibilities, and I know like no one has it easy. And I feel like there's probably people out there that just have had to like really, really help out their family even more. But I don't know. I think it's just the fact that like I just had to grow up fast. I had to grow up fast, and I had to be independent. And I felt like I couldn't rely on like anyone or anything, and I had to only depend on myself. And that is so like that like weighs so heavy on you when you feel like everything relies on you. So
you can't turn to anyone.
So like, and I feel like I never was open about my emotions, and like just like a combination of all that. Like when you feel like you can't rely on anyone, and you feel like you're the only one you can depend on, and you feel like you can't just like be like, hey mom and dad, like I'm actually really stressed. Like it's like my brain, I didn't even know, like what I realized is I didn't even know how to be stressed. Like I was just so like, it's like I was just, my brain was just so used to like just doing it. Like I would just like, okay, I was just like, okay, my mindset was suck it up, like get through it, you got this. And then I realized like actually no, like you can be stressed out, and like you're saying, it doesn't mean like you're weak. So I kind of went through like a similar thing of like learning how to be vulnerable and like be open about literally like what you're going through. And so I think just a combination of all of that, especially during the time of COVID. And it was just like a very long process, and like similarly I didn't really know what I was experiencing. I just knew that like I had a prayer like for like a whole year. I was like, okay God, like, give me confidence, give me like a voice, give me boldness to have that voice. And he literally like every day, I don't know, like he was just like revealing a lot to me during that time. And like I said, like it was just so much greater than eternity, and I like my eyes were just open to like the fact there's like a purpose, and that like I don't need to do it all on my own. Like it's like I hear that like Jesus has a plan for me, but when I literally realized like there, like for me, like Olivia, like that God has a plan for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like the weight isn't on me, and like just so many things. And like that's when I really felt like my life was a movie, because I started like there's this woman, her name's Kathy Duffy. She's like a mentor and a friend, and she had like such a powerful message that she like preaches, and it's just about the fact that like literally there's like freedom in Christ, and like there's so much freedom in him, and it's like by letting go of this like our idea of like perfection and like this life of success that we want to live, and realizing that the fact that like, there is a plan for me, I started waking up and being like, okay God, like you got this, like I don't know what's gonna happen today, but God, like you literally know like what's gonna become of this day. And so I just started to be like, okay God, like where do you want to take me today, like what's gonna happen today. And it's like crazy, because that transformed really like the mindset of like the best day ever, because it's like all right, yesterday's gone, like I don't need to care about tomorrow, and I'm someone who like loves to like plan and like have answers, and I don't like things to be open-ended. So I was just like, all right God, like all right, yesterday's gone, and then like tomorrow I like learned that tomorrow will take care of itself. And literally like
so cool.
There's so much power in realizing like all you have right now is like literally this moment. Like all we're guaranteed in life is literally this second. Like I'm not even guaranteed I'm gonna make it home, like leaving here. Well, it's just like,
that's what I think.
But it's just like literally the truth. It's like we're not guaranteed anything, and it's like it's so easy for us as humans to like fall into the trap of like forever. Like we were never told we're gonna live until we're 80. Like we were never guaranteed like the future. So it's like literally all we have is today, and just make the most of literally today. Like, make the most of this moment. And
that's what
I don't know. The big thing too, I just want to like, I don't know, just so good to like emphasize, like there's so much freedom in surrendering. Like surrendering your plans, I think that was a big thing. So yeah, that was like a very, very long answer.
Very good.
And
I was wondering, like even after COVID, well, I have two things. Even after COVID, like I was like, why does my life feel like I don't plan anymore? Like I literally, like COVID hit, I'm like, I'm just gonna live day to day. Like you kind of had to do that. Like
for real. And it's just so freeing. Like I feel like I'm front row. It's like the best movie ever, and I'm just like, all right, let's just see where this day goes.
Yeah. And then my other question was, or that ties into this was, so were you like a Christian before your refiner, and then your refiner happened? Because like for me, that was the exact same thing. And like obviously, like when you're a Christian, like your eyes are open to like all these new things in life. Like it literally says in the Bible that your eyes are open and you're like seeing all these new perspectives. But it was weird. Like I had that moment of like accepting Christ, like probably sophomore year and probably many times after because I was doubting it. But it's just weird to see like that hard time was like the most impactful. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like necessarily me being like, okay, God, I understand why you're throwing me in these things. It just like literally happened. Like I didn't want it to happen. It literally just happened.
Yeah. No, it's actually crazy. So like something I realized, it's like a lot of people, they're just like, okay, I'm a Christian. I go to church. Like I go to church on Sundays and I live my life. And they make church just like a part of their life. Yeah. When honestly, reality is like going to church isn't like, I mean, it's like a part of being a believer and having community, and like it's one way to like share Jesus and learn about him. But I don't know, being a believer, it's just like having a relationship with Jesus. And so when I became a Christian, it was in 2019, and I think for a long time I was kind of walking out my faith as like, okay, like I go to church on Sundays, and I'm like, okay, God, like how do you fit into my life? Like I was thinking about me. True, yeah. I'm like, okay, God, like how are you gonna benefit me? Like how are you gonna like, how does this work for me now? Like it's like what do you got going on? And then I feel like there's honestly like I feel like there just has to be like a point of realization when like you come to know Christ that it's so much greater than the fact you go to heaven, and like life life isn't about like oh my gosh and it's not about like okay, let me be nice, let me do all these things, let me give money, like God doesn't need you to do anything. He doesn't even need you to like read your Bible every day. Like he doesn't need you to like do like a checklist of stuff. Like it's literally just accepting Jesus. Like when you say like when you like profess with your mouth, or I actually have a verse right here. It says if you come Romans 10:9, because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's it. That's all that is required to go to heaven, is like to believe that Jesus is Lord, and that he like literally like took your spot on the cross, like paid for our debt with like his blood. Yeah, it's like, so obviously you have to be saved. But when you realize that, I forget my second point I was going with. I think I was just going to say how, yeah, it's so much greater than eternity. And then when you realize, like, it's not about you anymore. And, like, when I started to, like, make a switch, and I realized that, like, I had all these plans about like the future, and there was all these things like I wanted to happen. Like there are all these plans that I wanted. Like I wanted my way. I wanted my life to look like this. Yeah, it's like I had to surrender that and like give that up. And it was like a whole learning experience. Like I learned so many things, and there's just so many topics like I want to just get into on this podcast. But yeah, I would say so I was like a believer for. It gets like weird because I don't even know like a moment when I feel like this finally happened. I would say like almost around like 2 years of being like a believer, that I was starting to ask the question like, okay, like, so what does God have for me? And it turned into like, okay, like I want God's way for my life. Like I don't want anything that I want, because literally life with God, like life is like a movie. Like literally like when Like, it's like when I have God as like the main character and I make it like, and the pressure's off me, I'm like, okay, God, like literally, like you take the wheel on this, because his plans, like literally God's plans for my life are greater than like the best idea I could ever come up with. Like the things that he has in store have literally always turned out to be so much better than I ever even, like my brain has the capacity to imagine. So, yeah.
I have a quote that I made. And it's funny because like I was thinking about how you said life is a movie. And one of my quotes that I had on my quote page or like on my Instagram was, this is probably my best quote that I made, but it's not about me. Your life is a movie. God knows the ending, which is like you dying. Don't let the antagonist, which is the devil, steal the original plot that God has in store for you, and that was to, eventually return you home, or to a new heaven, new earth. That is cool though, to go off your thought. Like, I always think like, oh, this could be like such a good plan for me, and then when you realize that it wasn't, and like God's leading you into something else, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I doubt you? Like, this is so much way better than what I could have ever experienced. And like, no doubt, because God created you and he knows you. Like, even like whatever happens tomorrow, like that was already all planned out.
For real.
And it could be like, I could have like, that's so weird and cool how like I literally was at like a rap performance, and I could have done anything else, but because I felt like I had to go into Westchester to drive around, I was like here I am, like in a building that I've only been to once, like getting all hype and singing, like crazy. It was so cool. Like
life with him is literally a movie. Like it's just like literally the best ever. And now here we are.
And then there's another quote that I just actually scrolled to was, put God first in every aspect of your life and watch your whole life change drastically for your good.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow,
that's so good. And you said put God like in place of everything, because it's
every aspect.
Because I realized like, I don't know, just like wrapping up school, like I'm graduating in 7 weeks. Like I literally have no clue what happens after I graduate. But I just feel like I'm always someone like, well, now I feel like I'm someone that like I feel like I live like a very surrendered life, and I just try and like fully, even when it's so hard, I'm like, okay, God, like I'm trusting that you got this. But I'm finding myself like starting to care more about things, like that like I was really good at like getting in a place of being like, this does not define me. Like for example, like classes have been so stressful, and then I just got like, I have like a job, like trying to make money, internships, ministry, and just like literally what's next. Like I just feel like there's so many things that are happening that like are a giant question mark. But I just like woke up the other morning and it just hit me. I'm like, if I have anxiety about anything, it's because I'm not giving it to God. Like it's like if I have literally anxiety about anything, that means I'm not giving it to him. So yeah, I'm just I would just encourage you, like if you're literally anxious about anything, like try like writing a list of all the things that like are bringing you anxiety, and just be like, okay, God, like I'm trusting you. You're gonna like get me. You're gonna pull me through this, and literally watch him actually, because he will like he answers like our prayers, and sometimes you might not see it for years. Maybe you'll never see it, but like God answers our prayers in mysterious ways. So. And
my aunt during COVID came to Christ, and it was like
it was like
it was like. She kind of, she expressed that she deep down, like, knew, like, she felt, like, bad that Jesus had to die and all that. But it wasn't until, like, COVID hit and she had to, like, question all these things about, like, life and, like, the government and all that. like, government as in, like, maybe, like, COVID is happening for some reason, I don't want to go into all that stuff. But, like, she just had a question and she's like, I'm just going to trust you, God. And, like,
wow.
It is cool to see, like, her like transformation, like someone that you never thought would like openly talk about like Christ.
Wow, that's so cool.
And then so my cousin, obviously like my aunt's son, my cousin, whatever, the family connection, like it's cool to see like even that having that person in your life like express like your faith, and now like my like little cousin like has questions and like he says he's a Christian now, and it's so cool like to see like the whole connection.
Gosh.
Like even having one person
precious.
in your family.
Yeah, literally the power of like one person's testimony.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like a whole like literally generations. Like I was talking to my friend Lauren about this and how she was just like wow, like the fact that she's saved and then like the generations to come and literally like it's like a whole bloodline of people are now gonna like grow up. Maybe, I mean, it's like obviously praying, God willing, they all are saved, but it's like the fact that like a whole bloodline will be raised with like her and like her spouse like knowing the Lord, and like her children, and then hopefully her children's children, and then the children's children. Like it's just like a whole generation will literally be changed because of like two people coming to know Christ. Like it's just so cool.
It is really crazy. And I think so I mean, we did cover a lot of it. Where is it? Realizations. And then I guess I had like kind of a recap. I know we talked about like my testimony and all that, but I forgot like we can go back to explaining like my testimony. But oh yeah, I have some like, just funny things. Like I'll get like annoyed. Like nowadays, I get annoyed when people ask me how my day's going. And because I'm like, do you really want to know how my day's going? Don't just say, like, how's your day going? Good. Like, literally.
Well, you should just be like, okay, I'll tell you.
I know, I want to do that, but, like, people sometimes just are not ready to hear. And it's
but maybe they are. Maybe it was just, like, you being that one person, just be real. I mean, maybe not with, like, total strangers, but you could just be like, well, actually, if you want to know how I'm really doing, this is the truth. And you can just give, like, a brief little sentence or summary,
And, like... So I cleaned this place called Westchester Methodist. It's like 10 minutes down the road, and this guy was like, so during my like refiner or hard time, when I was like healing and all that, he was like, "How's your day going?" And I was like, "Good," but let's just say like I've been going through like these times of healing, and he's like, "Oh." Like he seemed confused, and he's like, "Oh, that's good." I'm like, "Yeah." And then I looked down on the ground, and then there's a little message, like a little sticker that said, "Have a blessed day." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I told you that last time." And then I was like, "Okay, like that's like a cool little sign." And I was like, at this point, like those little things that happen in life are like, well, like this
little miracles
feels really weird.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Wow. And then I was like, that's just weird. And like I do want to say like how my day is going, but like I don't know. Sometimes that question gets annoying.
Yeah.
Or annoying, and it's like, do you? I want to say how my day is going, or like, do I honestly want to ask someone how their day is going?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I feel like, I don't know, just lead with the spirit. Like, it's like always look for the best in others, because like maybe if someone else is just like seems like they're not really wanting to have a conversation, maybe you being like, hey, actually I'm not having a good day, will actually open up them to be like, actually I'm not having a good day either. Yeah. So yeah, but that's really great. And then
that's I kind of have a recap for the refiner.
Yeah.
And so it says, what I've learned is that healing takes time. Crying is not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength, because you don't know, you don't need to be strong all the time. You don't need to be strong all the time, and you can say that you need help. Being vulnerable with yourself and others reveals your authentic self. It's a very hard thing to do because it causes pain, fear of the unknown, or judgment. Your authentic self is the person you always were before the world threw all of its problems your way. You look at life with a new beginning or innocence. Big or small, your refiner or wilderness season you learn in life is that you learn that life is not easy, but you learn to forgive yourself or others. You let go of walls that you build up when you're not trying to get hurt, and you can enjoy peace and freedom from the one that sustains you, which is God. And lastly, you are fully known and loved by God, and that is enough. Through all this, I learned to just pretty much trust God's process, even when I'm doubting Him. And I have like some things, but we already kind of touched on them, like how does this help others and how does this help me? Like 2 bullet points that says how this can help me is I can heal, let go, and learn to love loving people without any fronts, barriers, or the filters, because the only love that truly matters is the love of God, not in friendship or relationships and all that. So yeah, I mean I have more, but we kind of covered a lot of it.
No, that is literally so good. And look at you, like the recap points. Like, what? It's so organized. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just think, like, just, like, the biggest highlight point is, like, literally, God is just so gracious and, like, merciful to us. Like, literally, look at, like, our brains and how we're thinking. And, like, sometimes we have, like, doubt and fears, and we have hard times, we have struggles. We go through, like, difficult seasons, and, like, literally, like no matter what, like every second of every day, like literally God is the same, and he's like he's like the only consistent thing that in my life that I know, no matter what, no matter like how I like present myself, like he literally just loves me no matter what. And there's just so much freedom in knowing that, knowing your identity in him, knowing you're literally already full in who he created you to be. Like when I look in the mirror, I get to look at myself and be like,
Smile.
wow. I get to look at myself and be like, wow, like I bear the image of God because like the way he like knit me, like he knew me, like he knew I'd be here right now, like before the creation of time.
Let's go.
Like sitting here like talking about him, it's just crazy. Like it blows my mind. And like yeah, I just like appreciate like your story and your testimony.
Thank you.
And I just appreciate like how you were just like vulnerable and raw and just like sharing like just like the reality of life. And your story I know is just going to definitely move in someone's life today. And if that is you right now, like whoever's listening, I just like lift you up. I lift up this season, whatever you're going through, whether it be good or bad, and just know like the same is true for you. Like God remains the same. He is a constant and he loves you. You don't have to like come to him like all perfect and all knit together. Like no, like literally come to him as you are. He already knows all of your thoughts. He knows literally everything about you, and he still loves you no matter what. So yes,
I think it's time to wrap it up, man.
I think it's time to wrap it up. And I remember last time you really wanted me to ask you the question, what is your biggest pet peeve? So I had to make sure I didn't forget that. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, I think it changes from day to day, honestly, but my biggest pet peeve is probably like when people like ignore me, like not through like text or just in general, like like someone's ignoring you, like, and they know that they know you're being ignored, but it just gets annoying because like at the end of the day you want to feel like loved and seen, and like that's why like it's so nice to have a relationship with God, because like you can be like, obviously it's hard to be like lonely, but like you know that's not gonna matter if people ignore you, because that just doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, I hear you that no one wants to be ignored, especially just in general. It's like, let's just, if you're busy, just let me know.
Exactly. You're like, come on, communicate.
But I'm not the best responder on text or phone, but it is what it is. But
I mean, we are like, people are busy, like with social media, like you're not gonna be living life with social media. Yeah,
for real. All right, guys. All right, so this wraps up this episode of the Best Day Ever podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. And hey, if you ever want to be on the podcast and share your story, literally just message the Instagram at wait, hold on. I just actually updated. I just updated it because I was trying to make it a little bit easier to access. So if you ever want to be on the podcast, it is Best Day Ever, BESTDAYEVER _pod POD. So bestdayever.pod, and you can just message the Instagram. We can get together, and even on Zoom. I think I'm gonna have an upcoming guest, possibly. Literally from another country. But let's see if it happens. But stay tuned. I hope you guys just know you're loved, you're chosen, and Jesus loves you. Alright guys, have the best day ever.
Thanks.
Bye. Of course. Thank you, Andy, so much for being here. It's been awesome.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye.